Has your R36S or other similar handheld started acting strangely? Maybe it's taking a really long time to boot up, certain games won't work, or maybe it won't turn on at all anymore. Well, the good news is that your handheld probably isn't broken, and the fix for your problems isn't that complicated. Today, I'll walk you through the steps to get you back online and gaming again. You're going to need a couple of tools to get this done. The first thing is either one or two new SD cards, depending on the type of setup you want to do. Don't reuse your old one, because the cards that come with these handhelds are known to be cheap and constantly have issues. Any branded SD card will do. I've been using these ON SD cards from Walmart for years because they're some of the cheapest I can find, and I've never had one fail on me yet. Knock on wood. Whatever you do, just don't reuse the old card. I'd recommend a 64GB card at a minimum if you're doing a single SD setup, but you may want to go with a 128 if you plan on adding a lot of PS1 or Dreamcast games, because those eat up space quick. You'll also need a USB to micro SD card adapter, unless your computer has a built-in port for full-size SD cards. Lastly, you'll need a working computer. Once you've got all these things put together, go ahead and put your R36S on the charger, because we'll need it about halfway through the setup process. Now we'll go grab the programs and files that we're going to use to complete this job. I've put links for all the websites and pages that you're about to see here in the video description. The first program that I suggest you download is the Raspberry Pi Imager program. You can use other Imager programs like Rufus on Windows if you already have it installed, but I like the Raspberry Pi Imager because of how easy it is to use and for the way it automatically prevents you from doing anything that might break your computer. It's available on Windows, Mac, and Linux, so you should be able to follow along with the steps here no matter what OS your PC happens to be running. The Raspberry Pi dev team has just released version 2.0 of their software with a facelift and a slightly different look to what you'll see me using here today, but the steps we'll be following are the same. If you're on Linux, like I am, you can just copy and paste this command into a terminal window and install the Imager that way, or if you're running an Ubuntu-based distro, you can also find it in the Software Center. Next, we'll go to the GitHub page for ArkOS. Scroll down and find the download link for your model of handheld. We're going to be doing this for an R36S today, so we'll select one of these download links. Mega is usually the one that works for me. Keep in mind, this file that we're downloading will only work with a real R36S. If you have one of the many clone devices out there that can run ArkOS or a variant of it, you'll still need to find and download the specific version designed for your clone device. But you'll still be able to flash that clone image to an SD card using the steps in this video once you have the right image file. And finally, you'll want to download your games and BIOS files. If your SD card from your original device still works, and you can see it when you plug it into your computer, simply copy the EasyROMs file directory and save it to your desktop. The directory should have a folder labeled BIOS inside of it, and it should have all of the files that you need. However, if you have broken game files that won't work, or your whole SD card is corrupted, you'll need to download a new game library and new BIOS files. I can't show you how to use Google to do this, but I can tell you that if you search for the words Tiny Best Set, Game Boy BIOS, and PlayStation BIOS, you'll be able to find links which will get you what you're looking for. Just put those files into the BIOS folder once you've got them. If you don't know if your R36S is real or a clone, check out my video comparing the differences between a real one and a fake. Once your ArkOS download completes, make sure to extract the file. If you try to use this file just the way it is now, freshly downloaded, it's not going to work. Right-click the file you just downloaded and click Extract. The final file should have .img at the end of its name. If it still has .xz or anything else after the .img extension, the file hasn't been extracted yet. Now that you've completed all these preparatory steps, you've downloaded the Raspberry Pi Imager tool, You've installed it on your computer, you've got your ArkOS image and it's fully extracted, you're finally ready to start. Open up the Raspberry Pi Imager tool and select Choose Device. Scroll all the way to the bottom of the list that it shows you and select No Filtering. Next, select Operating System. Scroll all the way to the bottom of that list and select Use Custom. In the window that pops up, navigate to the folder where you have your ArkOS image saved and select it. Remember, this is the .img file, not the one with any other extension. Finally, select Choose Storage and select your SD card from that drop-down menu. If you have multiple devices on that list and you don't know which one is your SD card, take a moment and disconnect any other USB storage devices connected to your computer, leaving only the SD card connected. Then refresh this list and select your SD card, which should now be the only remaining option. Now the Raspberry Pi Imager is flashing the ArkOS image to your SD card. This part might take a while, so now is a good time to start downloading those other files that you might need if you don't already have them. Once the Imager finishes its job, it will automatically safely eject the SD card from your PC for you. Unplug the SD card from your PC and put it into your R36S or other handheld. This step is important because the R36S is going to create some files and partitions on the SD card for us the first time that it's started up. This has to be done before we can put any of our games on the SD card. So power up the R36S with the new SD card in slot number 1 and just let it do its thing. This shouldn't take too long, but you will see a few command line screens. Again, this is just the initial compiling of the operating system the first time that it boots up. It only has to do this once, and then from now on it will just simply boot into the front end. Alright, there we go. Once you see the home screen of your device, we can go ahead and shut it down, and we'll move the SD card back over to our computer, because now we can start loading some games onto it. Obviously, there's nothing on here just yet, so there won't be any consoles listed, just the settings, favorites. Pico 8 has a couple of pre-installed games on it, but that's it. So we're just going to go ahead and shut it down. Now that we've moved the SD card back to our computer, we can start loading it up with our ethically sourced, cruelty-free, grass-fed, 100% vegan games and BIOS files. I've got my own games library and BIOS file collection stored on my home server, so I'm going to use that, but you can copy the files from your old SD card or download what you need. When we plug the SD card back into the computer, it will look like you just plugged 3 devices in, those being boot, root, and the EasyROMs directory. That's what the R36S just did for us while it was booting up. The only directory that we care about is that EasyROMs directory though, and this should look pretty familiar to you if you copied the games from your old R36S's SD card. If you're doing a 2 SD card setup, you can simply copy all of these folders from the EasyROMs directory that you saved over to your clean secondary SD card and begin moving your games into them. The second SD card doesn't actually take any special setup except that it be in FAT32 format, and you can treat it just like you would any old USB storage device. Just make sure to copy your game files into the correct folders here so that your R36S knows what emulators and cores to use to run them. Also, don't forget to copy over those BIOS files into the BIOS folder here as well, otherwise some of your emulators won't work. And with that, you're good to go. Your R36S should now be in the same ready-to-play state that it was when you first received it. You may still have to set up some emulator or core settings for the different game systems if some of your games don't start up and play right off, but most games and systems should work with no problems. If you made it this far in the video, thanks for watching. If you found the video helpful, please leave a like so that others can find it more easily. If I got something wrong, be sure to tell me about it in the comments. Thanks for watching, and GG's.